Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show you'll find on Spotify. And joining me tonight for our Premier League preview, as he always does, my brother in arms, Darren. How we doing, my man?
I'm still recovering, Niall. I'm still getting, still having flashbacks from Sunday, but listen, we're all right for the minute, I think, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's begin. A serious festival of football coming up this weekend. Anyway, let's start with Saturday, kicking off the lunchtime kickoff. Leicester versus Arsenal. Huge game for both managers.
Yeah, and lots of games this weekend that are going to be tough to call. I'm actually in a last man standing, and I've used City and Liverpool maybe. And when I looked at the other 8 games, I was thinking, oh, this won't be easy. You know, a lot of games are going to be close run affairs this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Starting with that game, that's going to be a good game. Leicester, 3 wins on the bounce in the league, starting to look a lot more like themselves, aren't they? And Arsenal as well, you know, coming into a little bit of form under Arteta. This is going to be a tough game for Arsenal. Very tough game. Going to that King Power. United got absolutely thumped there a couple of weeks ago. Now, that's not saying much because United getting thumped by everyone at the minute. However, you know, I think Leicester had a great win at Brentford last weekend. That winning goal, if you saw it, was an absolutely beautiful team effort.
Yeah.
Quick, one-touch, counter-attacking football. Absolutely super. I think there's going to be goals in this game now.
Yeah, and I think Daka looking like the player that they've bought. Seen him in the Europa League.
Yes, he got his 4 goals. The tail is up. He's confident. He had a chance to win the game against Brentford the other day. And you know, he squared that ball to the left and made life very, very easy for James Maddison. Now, most strikers there shoot in my boots, or for my books. But I have to say, I love the way he just said, you know what, I don't need this goal. Even though I'm a striker and we thrive on goals, I don't need this. What's more important for me is that we get 3 points out of this game. So, James, here's the ball. Put it in the net and let's go and win this game. And I absolutely loved it. You know, I really, really did. Super team player. I think the boy, and I've got to say, I wasn't always a big fan of his, but the lad Iheanacho is really looking like a footballer as well. He set up that last goal. It's a nice little hold-off bit of play and a little one-touch. He's not maybe getting the goals that his play would warrant, I'd say, but his all-round play is quite good. He holds the ball up well. And Leicester have got kind of, you know, a few little diamonds there heading forward in the attacking end of the pitch, you know.
Yeah, with him, he's nearly always around the goals, if not scoring them. He always has a big part to play in them. He reminds me a bit of my own Bobby Firmino, in terms of, like, he's always trying to create and hold up and move things around and stuff like that without actually being on the score sheet. He's always heavily involved, you know.
And I think that's something that maybe he didn't have at City, because I think at City, if he'd have had it, it might have kept him involved. The issue with City was he seemed to think everything was about goals. Whereas now he's at Leicester, it's like the penny is dropped and he's like, well, yeah, I need to score goals as a striker and as an attacking player, but if I can help bring people into the game, that's going to do enough to keep me on the pitch anyway, as happens at Liverpool, you know.
Well, we know now in the Premier League, the assist is nearly as good as the goals in terms of your statistics. You know, it's a huge part of it now, you know.
100%.
Who are you going for here? You going for a home win by the sounds of things?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to go home win. Yeah, I'm going to go home win. But I think there'll be goals. So I'm going to say... No, do you know what? I'm going to say 2-2 draw.
That's what I was about to say. Score
I'm
draw.
I'm going to say 2-2 draw. Plenty of goals. That's exactly where I'm looking at. Yeah. I'd be shocked if this is a 1-0, I have to say.
Yeah. Watford versus Southampton, the first of the 3 o'clocks.
The old team Watford from last week. They did me proud up with Everton, didn't they?
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it as much about Watford as it was about Everton?
Watford were very good, man. They were really, really good, you know. I know Everton were poor, but geez, the Watford boys took the goals well. And that was the kind of new manager bump we expected the week before, you know.
Thank God it didn't happen.
Right. Well, for you boys, but I mean, that was the kind of result that you thought, okay, now we see what's possible. Joshua King hadn't been playing a lot of football under Cisco Munoz. And obviously he's in there against Everton, who he didn't manage to score a goal for when he was there. And then he comes back to Goodison last week and puts a hat-trick in. You're just thinking, geez, football's a funny old game, isn't it?
4 goals in 12 minutes. Wow.
Do you know? Yeah, it really, really was. I'd say Rafa was steaming. You know, this will be a good game. You know, there'll be a couple of goals here as well.
Yeah.
There'll be a couple of goals here as well. I think Watford might nick this.
The boy Ward-Prowse is back for this one, is he?
The boy Ward-Prowse is back for this one. He's had his 3-game ban, but you know, and as good a player as he is, I think their issue is really going to be putting the ball in the net. And I think Watford can just be a little bit more resolute at times. And I like Watford with Sarr and stuff like that as well. And you know, the boy Emmanuel Dennis. There's a couple of nice little footballers there. I'm going to go a home win here.
Yeah, I'm going to say a home win as well.
I'm going to go 2-1 Watford.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, just by the odd goal.
Yeah.
A game that I'm really looking forward to next, Liverpool versus Brighton. I'm going to be over there podcasting from that this weekend. Myself and Dino with the Shankly Sessions. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Good to hear your thoughts on this. After the week that Liverpool has had, it doesn't get any better, does it really? And now we face Graham Potter, who we all want to.
Our old friend Graham, right? Our old friend Graham, for a quick reminder. Potter's been doing very well with Brighton, hasn't he? Really well, you know. And they probably hit a little bit of a sticky patch over the last few weeks.
The City game disappointed me, how easy they were rolled over so early.
Yes, yeah, and it wasn't something we expected necessarily. You know, we thought it would have been a little more resolute. But here's the thing: City can have those kind of days.
Yeah,
City for me are what I would describe as a kind of a purple team. You know, if they're a little bit cold on a day, they turn a bit blue and things don't go their way. But if they really hit their stride, they're red hot and you just can't live with them. You know, that's how good they are. The boy Foden's on a different planet, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is. So that can happen. And I wouldn't necessarily say that that's anything against Brighton. You know, those results are going to happen in the league. Listen, we had an awful day at the office on Sunday. I spoke to you off air, and I don't necessarily think Liverpool played their best football last weekend. But they were very, very efficient. They closed the ball very well. Their work rate was super. You know, it was extremely frustrating as a United fan to see the difficulties we had getting the ball out from a goal kick. And then to watch when Liverpool had a goal kick and how easy it was for them to get out. You just kind of thought, is anyone watching this? You know, like, surely this isn't that difficult. That if they press that high and they put us under the cosh from the first touch of the ball, isn't this something that we can say, well, why don't we do this? Because it looked to me like the message from the United back room was, let the 4 Liverpool boys have the ball at the back. Right? Whereas on the opposite side of the ball, Klopp said, do not let them 4 defenders touch that ball. And when they get it, hassle them, harry them, annoy them, you know, to the point where they'll make mistakes and they'll cough up goals. And guess what? They did.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a very good managerial performance for me last weekend from Klopp. You know, I'm a big fan of his. It kills me to say, I personally don't think there's a better manager in the world at the minute than Jurgen Klopp. I think he's right on top of his game. I know at times Liverpool fans have reservations about certain things, but I just think he's a super tactical manager. I really, really do. I don't think anyone else in the world gets that squad near a league title. I have to be honest. And you know, there's probably Liverpool fans out there going, you're talking out of your hole. I don't think the stars at Liverpool are Salah and Firmino and Henderson and Van Dijk. I think the big star at Liverpool is Jurgen Klopp, you know. I think this will be a tough game for Liverpool, certainly tougher than last weekend. Proved to be. But again, you can't see anything but a red victory, can you?
Yep. I would have thought so anyway, and I'm fingers crossed. That's what I'm hoping for. Tuchel would get a league out of that team, wouldn't he? He's very good as well with his man management. I mean, he took a lot of players do you not think he took a lot of players that were very average under Lampard, and he's now made them look like world beaters as well?
He's made them look better. I don't think Chelsea are a team. If I had to choose who to play next week, Liverpool or Chelsea, I'd pick Chelsea every time. You know, I think Tuchel's a good manager. Absolutely. Just won a Champions League, you know. I think he's a good manager. But do I think he's Jurgen Klopp? Absolutely not. You know, for me.
Well, in a couple of weeks, you're going to find out, aren't you?
we might find out the hard way, which is the problem, you know. But listen, who knows where we'll be at that stage?
Yeah.
And that's another bridge we have to cross. I think Liverpool will do it this weekend. I think they'll win 3-1. And I'm going to say Brighton will get on the score sheet because I think they coughed up a few too many chances against us last weekend. And I think a better team might have taken chances and made the game different. You know, we've a very big chance in the first couple of minutes with Bruno there.
Massive.
Like one of the best passages of play we've had all season. You know, touch, ball in, next minute. Free man. And you're thinking, here we go. This is a real big chance. And Bruno's not a bad finisher in general.
Yeah.
But it was
I think
so
it was the
skill-based.
occasion. It was the occasion, the magnitude of the occasion that I probably got him, because normally he'd put them away.
I think he does put them away. Now he trashes at it a little bit instead of maybe picking a spot and just, you know, passing the ball in. But something I will say, and obviously you've seen where I sit in the Stretford end. I'm the second row behind the goal. I'm really, really tight to that home goal, let's call it. And I don't know any striker that's going to want to bear down on goal with Alisson in there. He's a big unit.
Yeah,
he's a really big unit. Very, very impressed with him. He's a really big unit, and he exudes confidence, the bloke. You know, he really does.
And I don't know if you picked up on it when you were over there, but the size of him when he comes out and the way he spreads himself.
Oh, it's wingspan, it's his shoulder size. He's not a small guy, and I don't imagine this will be me small thing I'll say against him. I don't imagine he'll be able to maybe prolong his career a long time because of his size. I would imagine as he gets a little bit older, you know, he'll find it more difficult because he's so big to stay supple and to stay quick from a goalkeeping point of view. But, you know, as we see him with Schmeichel was a great keeper, but he peaked and he kind of peaked and then he started to dip because I think physically he started to find it difficult. And Alisson's a big guy. You know,
if you see the sports science that they do with them, if you're watching any of the videos, though, they're constantly working on all that stuff. So it has evolved somewhat as well to give him
100%.
You know, but I know where you're coming from. He is a huge boy, and so
and I have to tell you, all through the game, especially second half when he's very close to us. And I mean, at one stage it was like a training session for Liverpool, but he was physically kept working himself.
Yeah,
you know, he was down, he was stretching the hips and the flexors and stuff like that. He was getting knees up, heels up. He was constantly doing something to A, stay switched on, but to B, make sure things stayed nice and supple, that if there was a chance at this end, he wasn't going to cough one up because he'd been standing there scratching his arse for half an hour. You know what I mean?
He's always moving.
Yeah.
You rarely see him. And even when he's moving out, if you notice, I mean, at times he plays like a sweeper. It's
100%.
Crazy the way he does that, like, and it's so beneficial to the team. Next 3:00, Newcastle versus Chelsea.
Yeah, Newcastle could be in for a hard day at the office, couldn't they?
Yeah, the takeover. What's the latest on the managerial situation? Are they?
It's all. I think Graham Jones was told he has 3 games. Is that right? While they try and, you know, make an appointment. I think things have gone quiet on the trail of Paulo Fonseca, haven't they? A little bit.
The news today was they were exploring Ten Hag.
Okay. I don't know if he goes to Newcastle. I have to be honest. I think he's a super manager. You know, if you said to me, listen, you know, you could get him, I'd say fucking take his hand off. That'd be a great appointment for us. He has Ajax playing a serious brand of football, especially in that Champions League where they're not in an easy group. They're playing very well. They just battered Dortmund last week, didn't they?
Yeah.
And again, he's doing this with homegrown kids and Dusan Tadic, who struggle at Southampton. So and Daley Blind, you know, he really is. He's a good technical manager, Ten Hag. I still think, and I said it to you a long time ago, I still think Eddie Howe ends up with this job. You know, I said it before the takeover, and I'm sticking to it. You know, I think Howe walks in there because I think he's a transitional coach for Newcastle.
Yeah,
I think you know, he comes in maybe on an 18-month deal. He keeps them in the Premier League. They start to build. He makes a couple of signings. He puts himself back in the window, you know, because he's been out of football for a little while now. And also Newcastle then have more options down the road. And maybe they've brought some players in and maybe Premier League status is confirmed, which makes the whole thing more attractive to another manager. So
neither of us are expecting the takeover boom to kick in this weekend either.
Certainly not. I don't know what the injury situation is like for Chelsea with Lukaku and Werner.
I think they're both still out.
They're both still gone.
I think so.
But listen, did it hurt them last weekend? Certainly not.
Help them if anything.
If anything, you didn't have that focal point, but you had the ball maybe moving a hell of a lot quicker, and that kind of a one-touch play around the box. The boy Havertz could be anything. There's times I look at him and I think, what's going on here? But there's times I look at him and I just think this kid is special.
Yeah, him, Loftus-Cheek, Hudson-Odoi, Mason
Mount, all these kids that can be big ballers for Chelsea. It was the first time I kind of seen Mount as such an attacking threat recently, because for quite a while he's been hindered from that. He's been more of a dogged midfielder and trying to create, but not necessarily scoring the goals himself. And he took the goals well last weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, I think when you've Werner and Lukaku around, they seem to be the focal point for what goes through.
Yes.
So the boys aren't necessarily being called on to kind of do it. But last weekend with those two boys not there, it opened up the floodgates for Havertz and Mount and guys like that to show what they can do and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it was. I know it was against Norwich, and no disrespect to Norwich, but still to put 7 goals past any team in a Premier League fixture is impressive, regardless of who it is.
Of course it is. 11 v 11. It's no matter what the standard. 7 goals is big. Yeah.
As Ian said in the review, it was cruel on cruel.
You're telling people, or you're telling teams all the time and players all the time, when you have a team at your mercy like that, you have to keep the foot in the pedal.
Yeah,
absolutely. You have to be ruthless like that.
That's the conversation Robbo had with the boys. If you've seen it, I don't know whether you've seen it against Tuesday the other day. He said, "Keep it going, score more, score more." The guys are just looking at him.
Yeah. No, we've seen it. No, and there was definitely a ruthless streak in Liverpool there. We spoke about it again during the week. They were so not happy when Ronaldo got that goal. They really, really weren't. And they were, Henderson and Van Dijk were in, Trent here, and they were like, "Told you not to let that fella behind you." And they weren't happy, and that for me is just, again, it's a sign of a good team, but it's a sign of a good manager that his boys know the gaffer's not going to be happy if we start taking our foot off the pedal here. If this finishes 5-2, he's not a happy man.
Yeah. What do you think? Chelsea run out easy enough?
I think Chelsea, I think 3-0.
3-0, yeah. Man City Palace. This is an intriguing one for me now. Palace showing a little bit of form at the moment. Heading up to the Etihad.
Palace are a well-drilled team. Patrick Vieira is doing a nice job here with Palace. He's taking along nicely here. Do they have the best squad in the world? No, but they've got some nice footballers. The boy Edward that's come in from Celtic's done well. I'm a massive, massive fan of the boy Conor Gallagher. I think he's going to be a serious footballer. Yeah. You've got Zaha, you've got the lad Michael Elise, who's after coming up from Reading, who looks a good footballer. Very similar in the mold to Eberechi Eze. Came up last year from QPR. They're clever like that, Palace, They'll buy the best player from a team. So they've picked out Edward, he's Celtic's best player. They've picked out Elise, he's Reading's best player. They picked out Eze, he was QPR's best player. They're paying okay money for these lads, and they're putting them together then. So from a recruitment point of view, they're doing okay. And again, last year at Fulham, the lad Joachim Andersen looked a very good player. And again, this year looks a really good player at Leicester. The centre-back. Don't be surprised to see him in a big team next year. I have to say, looks very good. City will beat them. They'll have enough in the tank. It just... I'm sure it'll be interesting for a little while, but I think 65, 70 minutes, City will get a foothold, and I'm going to say 3-1 City.
Yeah, I think probably 2-1.
Okay.
But I think Palace will stay in until the end.
I think Palace will stay in.
Vieira has them well drilled, and they've been a shock to me because I thought they'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, hats off to them.
There was quite a few you lads tipped them for relegation at the start of the season, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Well, if you look at their form,
I think I was the only one on that call that actually said I thought Vieira did a good job there.
Yeah,
I might have to get the rerun of that.
We can pull out the clips. Don't worry, it's all on record. It's all on public record.
Yeah.
Burnley versus Brentford, rounding out the 3 o'clocks.
Burnley have been poor, man, haven't they?
They're in serious trouble.
Burnley have been very poor. I seen the boy Maxwell Cornet last week. Got on the score sheet. He looked head and shoulders above what Burnley had. But he was pretty much our only signing in the summer. And you were kind of thinking they need a bit of a rejuvenation. They needed 3, 4 or 5 to get in there. Now they got a great footballer, but they only got one, and they look so light everywhere.
Their backline looks exhausted from trying to do the job, doesn't it?
Yeah, me and Tarkowski especially, you know. And they really
two
do.
very good players.
2 good players, 2 solid players, you know. I think Tarkowski now is probably thinking, why didn't I go to West Ham or Leicester?
Yeah. Like 10 games in, the 2 boys look like they've played a full season nearly.
Yeah. And Nick Pope as well hasn't had the form he'd had previously. Yeah. Pope was in the England reckoning and stuff like that. At one stage, I thought he was going to be England's number 1. The confidence isn't there at the minute. You know, he doesn't look the Nick Pope we saw maybe 2.5 years ago. They're struggling for goals. They're struggling for form. I think Brentford, on the other hand, are still flying high. The base, I think they're still flying high. They've still got goals in their team. They're well drilled. Thomas Frank has them well drilled. I expect Brentford to win this, I have to say.
Yeah, those visits to Turf Moor aren't as tough as they used to be.
No, certainly not. They really aren't. And I think there's too many goals in this Brentford team for Burnley to keep up with, you know. So I think I'll say 2-1 to the Bees, to Brentford.
Brentford to keep their run of form going, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Rounding out the 5:30, this is a massive game. Tottenham versus United.
Yeah, this is a 6-pointer, isn't it? Really, not least from a league position, but the 2 managers are also staring down the barrel here, isn't it?
Big time.
This could be the apprentice you're fired. If it's the loser of this one, you know, it's going to be tough. We going there to Spurs is never easy. You know, we've struggled at times at White Hart Lane, and since they've gone to that new stadium there, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we haven't set it alight either. The only thing I will say, Tottenham are so poor at the back, man.
Yeah,
they are so poor at the back for a Nuno team. They're so poor at the back, but that for me is a personnel issue.
Yeah,
it really is a personnel issue, because we saw what kind of defensive work Nuno was able to do with Wolves. So for him to come into Tottenham and Tottenham really to struggle at the back, I think it tells you enough that it's maybe the personnel rather than the coaching setup.
He'd better defenders at Wolves, there's no doubt about it.
He didn't necessarily have bigger names, but he certainly looked like he had a better unit, let's say. I think Lloris is trying, but I think playing behind the back line, you know, Eric Dyer, he is Dyer. He's very Dyer. Davinson Sanchez, awful. He really is. Now listen, you know what's going to happen this weekend. One of them will be man of the match, and they'll play like, you know, Frank and Ronald de Boer at the back here. But that'll be sod's law, and that'll just be a once-off for me. I think the lad Sanchez is very poor. I talk about footballers all the time, and good footballers are great, but smart footballers are even better because they don't have that glass ceiling above them. And I think the lad Sanchez he's got to be stupid, because he makes so many simple errors, and so many errors that he's made before.
He switches off.
You know, it's so poor. I will say the one bright spark for Tottenham is the boy Romero's looked okay.
Yeah.
I think getting him on the pitch is important. You know, he's had a couple of injuries, and obviously the quarantine issue with Argentina and stuff like that. The boy Romero's a good centre back. If they could get a partner in beside him, they could do something.
Yeah.
But for me, it's definitely not Dyer, and it's definitely not Davinson Sanchez. I don't know if that brings in Joe Rodon into the mix. I don't know. But certainly for me, if I see Dyer or Sanchez on the team sheet, I'll be thinking we're in with a show.
Yeah, well, Rodon came in and he didn't set the world alight either, but I think he was
he didn't.
In fairness, you know.
Yeah, and you know, listen, with Rodon, he's that little bit younger, isn't he? And he's obviously taken that step up as well from the Championship. But I think if you look at where he could go in comparison to the other 2 lads, that's maybe where I'd say, you know what, a little bit of perseverance here might pay dividends for us as a Spurs, if I was a Spurs fan, you know. I think he needs games under his belt at that level, and I think he'd look a little more comfortable.
That has to be a win for United, though, doesn't it? Or the Towels coming in, isn't it?
Well, listen, depending on who you speak to, the Towel went in last weekend. To be honest with you, I just cannot believe that we're talking about this now, and it's Ollie is still at the wheel. Like, this is
the talk is and we're going to get into it. We're going to do an episode on Ollie, but the talk is that they hadn't got a backup plan. They weren't expecting that, but form hadn't been great anyway, And now they're going to have to wait until the international break to give whichever coach is coming in the ability to have a week or two with the squad. But a lot of the squad will be away on international duty as well, so who knows?
And I've also heard talk that they didn't want to give it to anyone, knowing they had Spurs, Chelsea and City coming up, because if a new manager comes in and loses 3 of those, all of a sudden you're back in the same position.
You're in on them as well. Yeah, pressure's back on again. Yeah.
So do we end up seeing an appointment the day after the City game? Quite possibly.
Yeah, I think they'll have something tied down. And then I suppose if that's the case, are the players going to be switched on for the next 3 games? Because these next 3 games, this is season defining. You know, if you go to Atalanta and it's a problem, if you lose the Spurs and it's a problem, and, you know, looking at City, at the moment you would expect City to beat us, but you always raise your game for the derby, as we know. But then,
you know, we always raise our game for Liverpool, and look what happened.
Yeah, and now Pogba got out as well. Pogba gone.
I don't think it'll hurt us that much, to be honest with you.
Kills the options though, doesn't it?
It's slightly, you know. Ollie shoehorned him in there a little bit, to be honest with you. You know, because he's not playing him in centre midfield, which is where he should be playing.
Yeah.
So if he's not playing in there, he's taking someone else's spot basically. I think we need to see changes in that starting 11. I said it last week. I think we need to see Cavani up front.
Yeah, I'm going to be intrigued. I'm going to be intrigued when that starting 11 comes out.
Yeah, I want to see Cavani starting, and I want to see Rashford and Greenwood flanking them. I thought Rashford did okay on Sunday. You know, he gave Trent a tough day at the office. Only for the cutback, there was nobody there. Yeah. You know, he's roasted him there as well. He's involved in the ball in for Bruno as well. Like, he wasn't that bad. So I think Rashford and Greenwood for me. And I'd go with Cavani and Bruno. I'd pull Ronaldo, and obviously you're missing Pogba, and then I suppose you're back to Fred and McTominay. Fred was okay. Fred was well received by the United fans at the end of the game. Better received than an awful lot of the players. You know, some fans clapped Pogba off after he got sent off. And I asked the bloke beside me, I says, "What the fuck are you clapping for?" I said, "He's just been sent off." And he says, "Yeah, but that means he was trying." I says, "No." I says, "He's a petulant skill kid."
Yeah, he was trying to be sent off.
Why would you think? I said, he wanted the early shower. I says, he won't even be in the dressing room when they get fucking in there. I said, he'd be gone home sitting on the couch.
That's not him trying. That's him sending a message to Ollie.
You know, I said, that's like, you got that right. But there was a lot of people clapping in this bloke's defence.
It's amazing in a number of those things, and we'll talk about it on the Ollie episode, but it's amazing the difference of opinion in all these different things that happen, isn't it? Like, whereas me and you would see that as him sending a message to Ollie and being petulant and going, "Fuck you, bringing me on as a sub. I'm a world-class player, blum, 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 whether you believe it or not." And then the guy beside you be clapping him saying, "You have to clap him off because of effort." And you're looking at him going, "Are we watching the same game?" It's amazing the disparity in the way
he's on 16 minutes. He's on 16 minutes. Yeah. Hadn't had a kick, and then saw a straight red for petulance. And you want to clap him? Get the fuck out of here, will you? Yeah. Get out! You don't belong in a football stadium. You want to go somewhere else.
You're going to the steward going, "Move those season tickets now."
Yeah, like, this is just, and I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, what? How? And again, in his defence, there was a lot of people were clapping him. And I was just like, I was kind of thinking, you know, when you question yourself and you go, "Am I in the wrong here?"
Yeah.
And then, and the guy behind me says, he'd heard me, obviously had to go with this fella and say,
he says, "You're 100%.
He went, he's an older gentleman. He called me kid. That's how old he was. He says, "Kid, this is fucking nuts." He's clapping him. And I went, thank God for that. You know, you're looking for that affirmation of, this is bonkers. Like,
yeah, it's mad when you get that situation, start questioning yourself. What are you thinking on this one? Has to be, I think this is a United win. It has to be a United win, doesn't it?
It has to be, but I don't know if we'll make it. You know,
draw ain't worth a shit to either, is it?
Draw is more shit to either, but I can see the draw. There's going to be goals at the back. Both of them are, you know, they're like toffee at the back, aren't they? Really. I'm worried, actually. I'm worried. And we shouldn't be going to Spurs who aren't in great form and who are struggling in a lot of areas of the pitch. And I shouldn't be thinking, we could get beat here. But you know what? We could get beat here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to say score draw. I think 1-1. There should be more goals than 1-1, but I'm gonna nail on 1-1 for now. And,
I'm gonna go with a United win 2-1, and I'm gonna go with Cavani robbing it at the death.
Hopefully, man.
That's what I'm thinking. I can't see a situation where he doesn't make changes, and I think any changes he makes will bring positivity to the team. I'm thinking Lingard in there. I mean, look, if he's 3 games to go, you know, show a bit metal on the way out. You know, if you want to have a future job in football, you know, put Matic in there maybe with Fred or something like that. Change it up. Look at Van de Beek. Do something. Don't leave him sitting there. Don't go that way. It's terrible. You know what I mean?
It's terrible to go out on the status quo, you know, and that's something, again, was spoken about in the stand on Sunday. This is the status quo. We've gotten used to this. Lingard, listen, if you're asking me, Lingard, absolutely could have a part to play. And he should have a part to play, in fairness to him. Kid's come back. He looked very, very good at West Ham. Got himself back in the England squad, scoring goals, creating goals for club and country, and hasn't had a kick. What do you do? I see one of the United fans giving him a stick at the weekend. He's saying, I'm not even on the pitch. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like, I have to get onto the pitch before you can boo me.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that. And the frustration from Jesse, you know. And maybe Bruno needs to sit down. There was a thought crossed my mind, you know, and I'll run it past you, that this weekend we see Sancho right, Rashford left, Greenwood up top with Lingard in behind, the 4 young English lads. We say Jesse is young, but, you know, there was a thought that came to my mind and thought, do you know what? Play them.
And with all due respect, what's wrong with that?
Listen.
Because it ain't going to get any worse. It can only get better.
There's a whole lot of football teams that'll take your arm off for Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho and Lingard.
Absolutely.
You know, play that quick, one-touch football, playing on the counter-attack, be absolutely lightning. Yeah, you're going to make a few mistakes and work rate and bring the work rate up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be absolutely fine with that, I have to say. And to be honest, if I see the team sheet on Saturday and he's gone with that, some United fans, you will hear some United fans say, what's he doing? Where's it? I won't. I'll go, do you know what? Now to me, he's a bloke that understands where he is.
Just a shame it's probably too late. That's the only.
But if we just see the same team and we go Fred and McTominay, and then we see Greenwood, Bruno, you know, Rashford and Ronaldo, will go, whoa, really? Again?
I'm telling you now, if I'm a United fan, if I was a United fan and there was 11 changes from last Sunday, I wouldn't be upset. Every single one of those players should be fucking benched. Every last one of them. Bar David De Gea, I suppose. But every last one of them.
De Gea didn't have a whole lot. What could he do? Just 3 of the goals were inside the 6-yard box.
You can't be man of the match every week, can you?
No, they're coming from areas where, you know, and like that, there was 2 guys in front of me and they were absolutely lambasting him. And I just thought, like, he hasn't coughed that up here.
He's on his own.
You know, he's on his own. And the bloke was heartbroken. He was
up against one of the best front lines in the world.
Right. And he was like, and he looked and he was like, he just wanted to say, someone fucking help me here. But there was no help.
No.
Like, but even to see the lack of tactical nous, you know, and I know we keep touching on United, like, we really struggled to get the ball out of the box from the goal kicks. But we're 15, 20, 30 minutes in, and it's still happening.
Yeah.
Now, surely to God, when that didn't work the first 4 or 5 times, someone's got to say, lads, let's not fucking do that. let's get Rashford who can jump, and let's switch Ronaldo out right who can jump, and put diagonals across. Yeah, when you're on taking the goal kicks from the left, go right. When you're on the right, go left. Get there, try and get lads up alongside him for the knockdowns, and press higher up the pitch and keep the ball miles away from the goal so we don't concede. What did we do? Let's play 3-touch inside our box. I was like, this is scary
against arguably the best pressing team in the world.
This is scary. I was like, this is like a bad dream. This is scary. Like, and the boys over the sideline, and there's nobody calling a shot, and you're just like, am I like, honest to God, that's why I stopped going to watch my young lads football team play. And I told you that off air before, over watching stuff like that. Now, the guy that manages his team's a volunteer, right? And he gives of his time on a Tuesday, Thursday, and a Sunday. And I would never open my mouth to the guy, because I have the utmost respect for putting in the work with the lads. Yeah. If I'm not happy with something, what I did was I took myself out of the situation rather than get involved, because that man puts his heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
If he gets something wrong, that's fine. But a guy getting top dollar over here on the sideline, a guy running one of the biggest football clubs in the world, a guy telling people, I don't do a whole lot on the training pitch. I'm not a coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That answers enough questions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Let's get into Sunday. 2 good games on Sunday. Norwich versus Leeds at 2:00. I'm thinking this is where Norwich get their first 3 points of the season.
Oh, that's my big call one, isn't it?
Sunday, yeah. I think Leeds have been poor. So poor.
They have been poor. They have been very, very poor. And we talked about Bielsa last year and how much we thought of him and stuff like that. And the wheels have really come off the wagon, haven't they?
Big time.
There's good footballers at Leeds. There is some really good footballers. I think, again, from a Leeds point of view, I think the style has to change a little bit, doesn't it? Or the formation has to change. Or the personnel have to change, because they're going through the status quo here with Leeds as well, aren't they? And it's not good to get into.
They're in a rut, aren't they? They're in a kind of
They're in a little bit of a rut, I know they're missing Bamford and stuff like that, but they are in a bit of a rut. They're very, very light on goals. Even the guys that were maybe picking up a goal or two last season have gone quite, Click there in the middle. Haven't seen it. Hiding our hair of him. Rafinha's quiet. Jack Harrison's been quiet. Dan James has gone in there. He's been quiet. They've been missing Bamford. Rodrigo hasn't set the world alight. Very, very tough. I think if I'm honest, the only 2 players at that Leeds team that do themselves any justice at the minute is the keeper and Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, the boy Ayling always puts in a shift as well. But, when you're a Premier League team, if you have 3 or 4 players showing up out of 11, it ain't going to be a good day at the office most weeks.
Yeah, and actually, we can probably add Stuart Dallas to that. Again, puts a great shift in. I think Ayling and Dallas, for me, probably aren't the quality of player you want for the Premier League. But here's the thing. Look at the quality of some of the other lads who aren't putting it in. So then maybe you're thinking, and as I've said before, you need players that are going to get down and dirty for you and try and win that ball back and get in people's faces. And Ayling and Dallas do that. So you've got to say, the 2 boys do well. And obviously Calvin Phillips, he's a super footballer. I'd hate to see him at Leeds for much longer, because I think he's worth so much more than that.
The way things are going, he might have the same opinion.
Possibly. Like I could certainly see. Now I think he's better than this, but I could certainly see him replacing Declan Rice at West Ham. Fits into that mold, comes out of a side and goes in to do the same job in a side like West Ham. Still going to keep his international hopes alive, because obviously Rice has been doing it, and then Rice maybe takes the big step.
And West Ham look like they're establishing themselves as a real top 6 club under Moyes,
They do. But listen, again, with Phillips, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at a big 4 team. If you told me Arsenal had signed Phillips, or if you told me Everton or even United were looking at Phillips, I'd say, great idea. I think he's a great footballer. He really, really is.
Yeah. What you thinking on this one? What are you going with?
I'm going to go with Leeds.
Are you?
I'm going to go with Leeds. I think Leeds will just do enough. Again, I think Norwich last week got an absolute hiding, and that can be tough to come back from. Yeah. Obviously confidence is going to be very, very low. They're without the lad Gibson now as well. A few injuries, things are starting to mount up for Daniel Farke there, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to 4:30, the Super Sunday, Villa versus West Ham. It's going to be a belter of a game, isn't it?
Should be a Super Sunday, actually. Should be plenty of goals here. Yeah, lots of good footballers. I watched Villa recently. I'm trying to think who it was. It was against Arsenal, actually. Arsenal beat them 3-1, but they weren't as bad as the scoreline suggested.
They were always in the game.
They were always in the game. I think the boy Wendy had one of those nights where things just didn't go his way. But I loved how he wanted to get on the ball and he kept trying things. And I kept thinking to myself, I liked him at Norwich. I said, I'm loving him at Villa. He probably hasn't statistically shone for them yet, but I think he will. And I think obviously with Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings has been a surprise to me. Hasn't been where I expected him to be.
Watkins hasn't shown his form from last year. Sure, he hasn't.
he hasn't. He's come back from the injury, obviously, and he's kind of still getting, he's still heating up a little bit, let's say. But I do expect Watkins to show us what he can do. And I think he's going to get more minutes on the pitch because he's got better legs than Ings. You've always got that worry with Danny Ings. He's going to get injured. So when they see him starting to dip in the game, they pull the plug on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, the boy Leon Bailey, very, very good. Technically very good. A clever footballer. I liked a lot of what he did against Arsenal. I think Villa are going to make this very tough for West Ham. As good as West Ham are, and as well drilled as they are under David Moyes, I think this will be very, very tough. And I'm going to call it a draw, but with a couple of goals. And I think I might go 2-2 again.
I'm going with a West Ham win and away win. Moyes to keep the form going. I worry about Villa's back line at the moment. That they're giving up goals as well at times. The boy Mings, he's not the Aston Villa's version of Van Dijk that he kind of was. He was solid for a long, long time, but he's sort of questioning himself a little bit now and making a few mistakes himself and stuff.
The big problem with Villa has been the change in formation. As a forward, they looked much more solid when they had a couple of lads maybe holding. And now they've gone to a 5, which means they only play with one holding, and all of a sudden, things are a little bit more difficult at the back. I don't know whether he might redress that. I know it would mean taking somebody out, but I don't think he can keep going the way they're going and conceding goals, because they were good at the back. They were very good. Yeah. And the personnel are still there. Martinez still a good keeper. You've got Mings and Conceit, and you've got Target and Cash. I think there will be goals. And I'm going to go 2-2, and you're going to go for a West Ham. What do you reckon, 2-1?
I'm going to go with 2-1 West Ham. I just think Moyes, the way he sets up, and I think the way Moyes sets up his West Ham team, it's slightly different away than it is at home. And he plays that kind of progressive football, but very patient, very, very patient. And he's happy to see a game into the 80th minute before he actually, pushes that button and goes, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can see it with West Ham, the amount of goals they've gotten in the last, say, 15, 20 minutes of a game. They play a very patient game when they're away from home, and they don't give much up. Very solid, very strong in the midfield. And when you've Mikel Antonio on your team, my God.
Yeah, they are slow playing the hand a little bit, aren't they, at times? The only thing I will say with that is every now and again you run into someone with a serious hand. And if you can go a goal or two up against West Ham, you'll make life very difficult for them because of that maybe lack of urgency at times. But they've got goals. I like the boy Bowen. I've liked him for a long time. He's busy. I like Ben Rama. I like Lanzini. I like Fornals. Mikel Antonio, obviously, there's a lot to like about them. And Souček and Rice in midfield are super. Yeah. They're very, very solid. Give West Ham a great base to go on attack, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, in a very patient and controlled way. Moyes doesn't have a problem if he has to pick up a point away from home. A point away from home for him is, he loves that. You know what I mean? That's no problem.
And I suppose if you're going into a game and you're thinking, point away from home here will do us right, there's very little pressure on you. And maybe the home team starts to think then, well, we're the home team, we need to win this game. And as they start to get a little bit kind of raggedy in the last 10, 15 minutes, West Ham go,
That's when they spring.
I might smell blood here, and let's pounce and try and set something on the front foot,
Yeah, I noticed it in a couple of games. When you look at the difference in Rice's work rate, if you look at him in the first, say, 40, 50, 60 minutes, and then you see him in that last 30 minutes, that's when you see him actually pulling the actual magic, as opposed to the more sort of controlled, conservative way of playing at times. But once they push that button 30 minutes out, 25 minutes out, very hard to live at the midfield, the way it moves the ball around all, but such a patient sort of controlled plan to away games. But yeah, I think they'll have enough to beat Villa. I'd be surprised if they didn't, but be another great game. Round out Monday, the 8 o'clock, Wolves versus Everton.
Yeah, Everton obviously gone through a little bit of a sticky period, with last weekend and stuff like that. I think they're starting to get players back though, aren't they? They're starting to get lads off the table and stuff like that. Yeah. They might have a couple of weeks to wait on Calvert-Lewin though. Richarlison made his way back last weekend, obviously. I think he got on the score sheet as well, if I'm right.
He did, yeah.
We've got, you're missing the core in the middle there. Really missing the core, I think it actually goes to show how big an influence he had. When he's not in the team, and all of a sudden you're going, well, we really miss this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously the focal point there, Calvert-Lewin. I think Rondon is doing his best, but I just don't think he looks a little bit off the pace for me. Now maybe he'll build, but I think he looks a little bit off the pace for me at the minute. I think at the back they don't look like a Rafa team at the back just yet. But again, I think that's down to personnel. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people now very unhappy with what I'm going to say, from an Irish point of view. But Seamus Coleman looks poor, man. Seamus Coleman looks very poor.
I think, as you said, it's a collective thing at the back there, and it's very hard. And one guy ain't going to carry that. There's only so much ground he can cover, you know.
No, of course, and you know, I'm not solely pinning it on Coleman, obviously, because I think in the centre back pairing, I don't think he knows his best pairing either, does he?
No. Some
weeks you get me in it, and some weeks he's on the bench, and then Keane plays most weeks, and you know, then Godfrey comes in or Holgate comes in and stuff like that. And I don't know about Coleman at the minute. Coleman to me looks like a guy maybe on the decline. Now again, Coleman's had a serious amount of injuries. He really, really has.
And he's been playing a long time at a high level.
And he's been playing a long time at a high level. I don't know if we're starting to see the kind of the end of Seamus Coleman. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Godfrey or Holgate take that right back spot in the next 6 to 12 months and make it their own, or Everton maybe bring somebody in for it, you know. Because they're a reasonably well backed team, Everton, from a financial point of view. I know this summer was a little bit different, but and they've obviously got a couple of crown jewels that they can sell off if they need to generate cash, you know. In Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, they're going to cost you 70 and 80 million a piece either way, aren't they?
Yeah, Leon has been tipped to go to Newcastle actually in January.
Has he? Okay.
That's the talk.
Okay. Would he take Anthony Martial with him? Is there any chance of that?
If you drop him over to the gaffy, give him a lift up anyway and have a conversation.
Happy days. Packet of Jaffa cakes, away you go, lads. Yeah, that'll work for me.
The way things are going, you might want to hang on to Anthony Martial.
I don't know if it'll ever get that bad. I have to be honest with you.
Who are you going with on this one?
Who am I going with here? I'm going draw.
I'm going for a Wolves win. They're showing a bit of form. The boy Neto.
Listen, they were slow to start. I still think they're going to cough up goals. That's the only thing I will say about them. I think Rafa will have things seriously tightened up from last weekend. And again, Rafa's the kind of manager where he'll make changes. He won't have 5-2 and start with the same 11 men. If he does, I will eat my lovely new hat that I have over there with ketchup on it. So I think Rafa will make changes. I think he'll try and be a little more pragmatic. I think he'll have everything much, much tighter. I could see this as a 1-1 with an awful lot less chances on display. Maybe not a classic.
Absolutely. Certainly not for a Monday night one anyway.
Not for a Monday night, you know.
Well, as always, a pleasure having you on for the Premier League preview. This is match week 10. As we said, the weeks are going by so quick. Let's see how these goes. It's going to be absolutely electric this weekend. Till next time, my friend.
Thanks, brother. You have a good one.